Good morning, guys. So I'm just waiting a few more minutes. I'm gonna let a few more people join in, and then I'm gonna go ahead and get started on the watch list. The watch list this morning should be pretty quick. There's not really too many gappers to go over. We do have IMUX and SOBR at the moment. But yeah, we'll just give it another couple minutes, and then I'll go ahead and get started. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and get started now on the pre-market watch list. So, just quickly, as you guys can see, this is pretty much my main watch that you guys can see on my screen right now. Gapping up this morning, we do have SOBR. It's kind of looking weak at the moment, pulling back, but if we can pop over VWAP and this 320 level a little bit after the open, I'll definitely keep an open bias on SOBR if it stays in play. We have IMUX, which so far is making a pretty decent move. I know we have a pretty big level though here on the daily chart towards 550. I noted that earlier. We have a little gap here as well. So big level at 550. So far we did kind of reject that resistance. We got a little spike, but it's trying to turn that area into resistance. So we'll see if this ends up pulling back further or if it can try to hold VWAP. The key level for me at the moment is going to be that 550. So if I'm looking for longs later, I would probably want to see this pull back and then reclaim 550 later on. This is also easy to borrow, so something to keep in mind on IMUX. The float, I believe, is around 24 million as well. So we have IMUX. NURO was also on the watch list last night due to this gap. So we'll see if this one stays in play. I'm definitely going to set a few price alerts. But just really quickly, I'm going to go ahead and go back to the watch list that I made over the weekend. And I'll just quickly go over all of those. And then after that, we'll go over the rest of the gappers. So the first one on my watch list was actually Neuro. Like I was saying on this one, so we did top out towards 380, which is right about here. We have a lot of resistance in the 4s and towards 5. So for me to be interested in this one, for a short, I would probably want to see this run and get extended in the fours. So if that were to happen, if this were to trap shorts, pop over VWAP, and then really build support over this 350, um, we could potentially look for a breakout, towards those pre-market highs. If it sets up that way, obviously. For now, we kind of rejected towards $4 and broke under that big 350 level. So it's really not looking too good for longs at the moment. It looks like this could easily just pop and then fade back towards the low threes or 290 area. So I am kind of short biased on this unless it makes a big recovery over VWAP. I'm just going to set a few price alerts, and then if it does stay in play, I'll start to shift my focus over to that name. The next one on the watch list, on the secondary list, was ABEO. So ABEO, this one had a nice run up on Friday. It had some decent volume. Kind of an interesting daily chart. So if this one maybe pops up on the scanner, I'll keep an eye on this one again. If it starts to push back up, I'd probably need to see it at least over that 450. BKD was on the secondary list as well. So we'll see if this one gets some volume today or not. PEGY. So this one's been in play the last few days. I've only had one trade on this one so far, and it was right here. I ended up shorting and then covering into this flush, which was really nice. But I haven't gotten any trades after that. It did provide a pretty nice short on this day, right here, and then a nice squeeze. But at the moment, I'm leaning towards this being a little bit weaker and fading back down. So if this breaks this 320 support, we might see this start to try to fade back down towards 240s or lower potentially. If it pops over $4 though, that's when I'll start to shift my attention over, or even over like this 390, 385 area. If this pops over and that turns into support, we're right back over that key level, and we can definitely keep an open bias. It's probably more unlikely for that to happen. It's probably going to end up fading, but you never know. This could end up trapping, so we'll keep an eye there in case. BEAT, surprisingly, after this big gap up day that we had, it actually held up pretty well, so I'll still keep an open bias on BEAT for now. Maybe I'll set a few price alerts here in case it starts to push towards 6 again. So just in case that one comes into play, we'll set a price alert. PRVB, also holding up pretty well, so we'll see if we get continuation on this one today. Potentially over 7. AEHR closed pretty strong on Friday as well, so that might be another one to keep an eye on. FNGR is actually holding up pretty well also. We kind of have like a bigger picture flag setting up or a wedge. So it'll be interesting to see on FNGR which way we break to the upside. If we can hold 8 with solid support, we can potentially look for the breakout. If it ends up just popping and rejecting, we can potentially look for a fade under 7. LUCY, really nice fade there, but it happened right at the end of the day. SNTI made a really big move the last few days, really nice breakout, and then on Friday, really nice fade back down. I might just set a few price alerts on this one just in case as well. So that was pretty much everything from the watch list that I made. I'm just going to quickly go over the gappers as well to see if there's anything we might have missed. But there was this GGE. This was a really good trade from Friday as well. We ended up shorting this one on this drop and covering into this flush. That was a really nice setup from Friday. But let's go back to the gappers. IMUX, like I was saying earlier, this one has about a 24 million float. I'm looking at a few things, and I believe they do have an ATM. So there could be some potential dilution on IMUX today. They do have, I believe they have an ATM and a shelf. So they could potentially be selling shares today. So far we did reject a little bit under $6, which is a pretty big level on the daily chart. We basically filled the gap there. So for me to be long biased on this, I would probably need to see 555 turn into solid support again. But so far that level did turn into resistance. So if we get a lower high here, we might see this break VWAP and flush towards the low fives. I am kind of hoping that this one does give some type of spike off the open or some type of run up and rejection to kind of short into if it does set up that way. I really don't want to chase a weak open on something like IMUX that's easy to borrow. So for this one, I am going to be a little bit more cautious on the short side off the open. I'm probably going to be a little bit more patient and see how it develops. If it just, flushes to 5 right away, I am going to end up missing the short most likely. But I do want to be on the safe side and wait for this one to hopefully spike. But like I said, with that ATM and the shelf, we might not even get really a spike at the open. So I'm also open to that. If I were to short the open, it would definitely be smaller size. It wouldn't be like a full size position, but we'll see what happens. If it reclaims over 555, we'll keep an open bias. If it stays heavy, we'll potentially look for the short. CSCW is getting a little pop there, but nothing crazy. SOBR is looking pretty weak going into the open. We still have about 7 minutes. But we're pretty much done with the watch list. I just want to go over the overall market, and then we should be pretty much done here for now. Let me see if there's any large cap gappers that are gapping up. Boyle, HKD. Yeah, there's not much there. Alright, so let's go over the overall market. SPY. As you guys know, we had a huge sell-off, or pretty big sell-off on Friday, I would say. We are getting a little bounce here. One thing I want to note is that this 360 daily chart, or we could say 362, 360s, it's a huge support level on the daily chart. We've been testing this level multiple times. We bounced off of it multiple times, broke under it just briefly, and then ended up reclaiming and spiking. And now we're testing that same level again. So obviously we did get a little bounce off of that level 360, but it happened in pre-market. Unfortunately, I was kind of hoping that we would open closer to 360 because that probably would have been great for buying calls right off the open, right off of that big support level. But it happened in pre-market. We're getting that bounce to 364. So for right now, I'm kind of leaning a little bit more towards calls, at least for the open. Maybe if we can pull back and hold VWAP at 363, maybe we can potentially push higher and kind of retest this 360 366 area or 367. So if I were looking for calls, I would probably be selling into these areas from yesterday. If we did get a nice trend today. On the flip side, if we do end up, bouncing a little bit, rejecting, and then staying heavy, I'm still open to this pulling back to 360 and then eventually breaking under and just setting up for that really big fade over the next week or so, down to potentially 340s. So I'm really open to both sides on SPY, but I think I'm gonna watch for potentially a bounce off of the open. Um, Really, I'm gonna be really reactive off SPY today. I'm gonna be reading the tape off the open, so I'll keep you guys updated on SPY if I end up trading that after the market opens. Tesla is pretty much the same thing. We did have a big 220 level on the daily here. We have big support towards 210. So we might even need to fade a little bit lower to test this 210 support or a 208 level. But Tesla's looking pretty bearish on that daily. I mean, we've had a lot of red days in a row. The daily looks like it has a lot of room to the downside, especially if it breaks under this 207, 208. So it's definitely going to be interesting, but we'll see on Tesla if we can get a bounce off the open as well. That's kind of what I'm looking for. But anything can happen, so just keep that in mind. Anyways, guys, we have about 4 minutes until the market opens. Congrats to those that won the raffle last week. We did a raffle to invite 10 people into the private Discord room for free for 1 week. So those invitations actually got sent out over the weekend. There might be a few of you that still need to join. Also, guys, if you're interested in joining the private Discord room, if you're not already in it, I basically do these live streams every day. It comes with my watch lists, live commentary, my alerts, and a lot more in the private Discord room. Live scans, everything's included there. So if you guys want to check that out, you can go on our website, precisiondaytrading.com. There's a link in the description, and you guys can join there. It's actually a really cheap cost for a 1-month subscription. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to also join our free public Discord, and you guys can join that for free, and you guys can message me if you have any questions. I'm going to go ahead and zone in now. We just have 2 more minutes until the market opens. So I'll keep you guys updated. I'm probably going to keep the free live stream open here for probably another 30 minutes or so. So I'll kind of keep you guys updated on the plays that we're watching and things like that. And if you have any questions as well, I am looking at the YouTube live chat, so you can also type things into there, and I'll be able to pull up any stocks you guys want and things like that. Alright, so far kind of a weak open there on IMUX, but we'll see if we can get some volume here and push up towards that key 555. SOBR, really nice recovery as well, pushing past pre-market highs. Tesla's getting a little push off the open, but not really doing much. Same with SPY. We're kind of just stalling at this 363.50, 364. It is holding up pretty well, but I'm just a little bit hesitant to get calls because there's really not a lot of confirmation here. Yeah, so I'm definitely going to be a little bit more patient on SPY this morning compared to previous days. So we're pulling back towards 363s. So kind of a heavy open so far on SPY and Tesla. Alright, so yeah, pretty heavy open on SPY so far. We'll see what kind of bounce we get here. If this bounce stays really heavy, I did take a smaller position on SPY puts, kind of near VWAP. I'm willing to add to my position. Um, I'm just waiting to see how the bounce reacts. If it bounces and then continues to stay really heavy, I'll consider adding. But if it just kind of pulls back to this 363 and then we stay really strong and start to build back up, I'm just going to cut my starter. Because if this 363 holds like I mentioned in pre-market, we still could set up for a breakout. So we really would need a lower high here. I'm going to give it some time on SPY. So this is really going to be key of how we react on this bounce towards VWAP. Sober, SOBR, so far pretty nice move. So far SPY is kind of seems like it's staying a little bit strong here, but we'll give it a little bit more time. It did reject there, so I'll be patient. But I really don't want to see this back above 364s. It has to stay really heavy for me to even add to my position. I'm still pretty small here. Alright, so I did add to SPY because it did reject on that little bounce that we had. I'm not super confident today in this position that I'm in. So I'm not taking big size today. I'm just gonna stay smaller. But if it does stay heavy, hopefully we can pull back and then eventually break under that big 360 support. That would be really nice. And if it continues to stay heavy and give me signs, I can potentially find ways to add to my position. But for now, I'm just gonna stay smaller, like I said, and I'm just gonna let it play out here for a bit. We have PEGY pushing up, which is kind of interesting. This one might come back into play a bit here. Pretty nice drop on Tesla. Tesla is actually at the pre-market lows. 218s. So yeah, if that breaks 218s, we could see a nice flush to that daily chart support that I mentioned, which is around that 207 level. SOBR, nice continuation. IMUX is pretty much just staying heavy, which isn't too surprising considering they had that ATM. TOPS is on the scans as well. Nice continuation on PRVB. TOPS is pushing up as well on the scans. I would be cautious on the SPY puts now. We are showing some strength here. So I ended up scratching that. I did catch a little breakdown, but I took a loss on some of the contracts on this pop because I didn't have the best entry. So I ended up being kind of a scratch trade there. I feel like we're a little bit extended to the downside, so I don't want to be aggressive on puts here. We'll see now if this 363 level can hold and we can start to break out. I might even flip to calls if it gives me a signal, but it's a little bit too early. We'll give it a little bit more time here. And it still could reject and then fade lower, so we got to keep that in mind. But I'm going to give SPY some time. I don't want to get chopped up in this range that we're stuck in. So pretty big rejection there on SPY, still staying heavy. Probably should have left my stop a little bit wider, but I still really don't like the price action too much. So far, we're kind of stuck in this range. Pretty nice rejection there on SOBR. Probably going to see this uh, form a lower high and possibly flush lower unless it makes a really big recovery. SPY ended up staying heavy as well, but no real follow through to the downside just yet. Ideally, it can stay heavy and break under these lows from yesterday, and then maybe we'll get some decent range. APDN, I was hoping for a short if it were to run up to like 250s or something like that, get extended in the twos, but it just never got there yet. I'll still keep an eye on it, but it's probably unlikely. LU is popping up on the scans. Alright guys, so far this morning, kind of a slower morning for me. I had a really solid week last week. Was probably a little bit eager to trade SPY this morning. And I did get chopped up a few times on this range. I just wasn't patient enough to hold for the drop that I was looking for. But not really a big deal. Like I mentioned, I didn't have a big size this morning or anything like that. So it's definitely recoverable. I'm hoping if APDN can spike to like 2 plus, I'm hoping like the mid 2s or higher. This could potentially give me a really nice short setup later on today. So right now that's pretty much where all my focus is, APDN. Hopefully this goes parabolic. Few things to note is SSR is on, so you're not allowed to short the bid. You have to short on the ask or get filled on the ask. I'm just looking at a few things as well. It looks like APDN does have warrants in the $2.80 price level. So for them to sell those warrants, I believe they have to get it to that exercise price, which is 280. So maybe they are trying to push this in the twos to sell shares. That would be my guess anyways. They also have some warrants at like $4. But I don't know how much is left on the warrants. I just know that they have them. There could be a small amount left. I'm not really sure. They do have a shelf, it looks like, as well. So they do have that. And it looks like they do have some cash on hand. I'm just looking at dilution tracker, but it says about estimated current cash is 17 million. We'll see though. It's already a little bit extended up here. I'm just hoping it goes higher for a nice short. PEGY is pushing towards 4, which was that key level I mentioned, but it's not really doing much. It's just really slow action on that one. IMUX, pretty choppy action as well. I kind of expected that on this name. Because of the daily chart, I just felt like this daily chart doesn't look like something that is just going to completely fall apart. And at the same time, it does have a bigger float as well. So I'm kind of glad I avoided IMUX for now. Maybe it gives a more clear setup later on, but I'm pretty much focused on other stuff.